Macedon, yo, I hit you off lacy with my nigga Lord Quaz.
In the place, master race MCs coming through like the loneliest monk. Mad lib, drop harmonious funk. I'll leave you sunken like a crackhead's ass. Drop the math on that ass fast, cause if we battle, your whole crew will be coming up in last place. I'll hit you with a slower, fast pace. On conceptual mode, new breed will wreck the whole space. We'll take you out, lacerate cause you was blind.
Hey Lord Quaz, did you hear the voices that you left behind?
Hey yo, are you the one?
Are you the one?
That took that nigga's life without using a gun.
I'm Harvin.
And I'm Donovan.
And together,
we are
the Drive-Thru Bandits.
And this is our weekly podcast, so welcome. I'm happy that you are here.
We're here to talk our shit in a safe space. Thank you for coming.
Uncut, uncensored, and unbiased.
Just a few things to knock out, like, who are the Bandits? Well, first of all, like, we love all kinds of stuff, like film, music, still art, dancing, whatever it is.
And then we're going to want to, in the future, make our own art for ourselves, because as every human on earth, we are individuals and we need to express ourselves for our own health and just to add to these conversations subjectively, just to keep stuff going and stuff.
And a lot of people sometimes think that black kids only, subjectively listen to certain type of things, so we want to break that stereotype a tad bit with this podcast.
And in doing that, we are like creating a safe space for, you, me, and others out there. Some people don't have that platform. Even on social media, they get silenced. So we're creating that for you guys.
All right, and the purpose of the show is to just pretty much to discuss topics of all kind, things that we see on Twitter, things that are bothering us just in general, or, things that you guys may send in, so.
Yeah, and also, send us anything, and we're going to put our Twitter links and our Instagram links and Snapchat at the end of the video. Feel free at any time during the night or day, just shoot us a DM or a comment under one of our photos, tweets about a topic that we can talk about in another video or even on social media or something like that. Have fun with it, because again, this is a free space for everyone.
This podcast is to bring facts, pure fun, and comedy. So hopefully we don't like to be monitored too much. So if you don't like that, then
yeah, a Jeep high if you're listening. Fuck you, man, for real. But just keep things rolling. We can transition now. We're gonna go through a few things just to go more in depth on who we are and what we're gonna do. So. Again, it's going to be kind of rough, but we are kind of raw dudes, so it's going to be fun anyway.
Yeah, and sorry for the jitters, guys, if you noticed, but this is our first time.
Our first
so
podcast, yeah, so
stay with us a little bit.
Yeah, bear with us. All right. So we're going to go into something that I think a few people probably have heard of, like on social media and stuff like this. It's going to be kind of cool. Like, what is a head? Like, what is a music head? What is a movie head and art head, just in general, and we're gonna just talk about that. So I think AJ, you wanna talk your shit on that?
I think just just a head in general is someone who has like a longing, like someone who really wants to understand more of whatever they just witnessed. So whether it be a movie, a film, going deeper, like looking up facts, not just your Wikipedia, but maybe their social media or things of that nature.
Yeah, and I think, not to sound almighty too, like a real head is someone that can take a piece of art or just anything in general that they can put in a space and argue about it without being condescending.
Be open to new sound as well.
And they can subjectively argue too, not just saying like, oh, this sounds good, this sounds bad. Because when you're a real head, you may love something that you may think is of bad quality. You may hate something that you think is of good quality, and you have to have that balance, because you can't just be like, that sounds, that shit slaps.
You have to be able to be critical of your favorite artist to be a musician.
True. Yeah. And then that's like our biggest thing is music, because with film, there's a lot of more elements that go into a film or with visual art, but with music it's really easy to pinpoint.
You can exactly be.
Yeah, because you could really go in on an album, because it's a collection. And I think that's one thing that I express. Go ahead.
I feel like, you can also, it's okay for some artists to have, like, their niche,
so just, like, an example of being a music head is when you're, like what AJ said a second ago, like, judging your favorite artist. So you can look at, like, Kanye West's discography. look at the beginning to where he is now and be able to compare and contrast compositions and sounds and everything in a space and be like, oh, he's probably in this space when he's creating something and going along those lines.
Being an artist is being a living, breathing representation of yourself in a sense, or maybe what you want to be. And if you achieve it by standards that have somewhat been reached already over and over again, you kind of lose, like...
You kind of lose yourself.
Yeah, you don't really...
Like, being innovative is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can still make great stuff and be innovative. Like, you don't have to make original things every single time. Because you can add to the concept and go and more redefine it. Like, a lot of artists out today, like, I'm trying to think of an artist that necessarily isn't doing anything new, but is still kind of, like, Caro Bonito. Like, if you look at that trio, of course they have, like, a bunch of original stuff they do, but as far as I'm concerned, with, like, their first album, they weren't necessarily, like, reinventing the wheel, but they were pushing different themes that were already done, but they were just redefining them and making them better, you know. That's a thing, it's, you know, versus, I don't know, I'm not going to say any names on any artist, but somebody that keeps making the same sound, the same flow, doesn't want to switch up, no features, if to be exact.
Drake. This is a perfect example.
J. Cole.
To
be example. No shade to them, but just to give examples of what we're talking about. On the docket. So we're going to go important to take in mind other genres of art and how they speak to each other. Just how, you know, you're watching a music video, the visual art with the song, how the meaning of the song or the feeling of the song amplifies itself than when you're just listening to alone. A great example is This Is America.
Mm-hmm.
How the song by itself is still a great song, still a compelling song, but when it's with the music video, the whole meaning,
the message,
changes.
When you listen to This Is America by itself, as in the single, just the audio track, it's pretty much just a pop anthem, like something that just gets you hyped, something that gets you fun. But when you take the video into retrospect, like, it kind of blows, like, whatever you thought the meaning of the actual video was. I mean, with some of his symbolism and some of the other things that he tried to achieve. So it's just important to be able to take every aspect of what the artist gives you and to fully digest it into your own understanding, or maybe into, like, between us friends, an understanding you know, between us, so, you know.
And another thing too is when you're talking like of a true artist, that sometimes, I mean, there are some artists that are just strictly one genre, but you gotta be aware that when they transition to other forms of genres, because there are an all around artists, like how Boots Riley was, you know, a big communist rapper. Now he probably made one of the best films of the decade.
Yeah.
And people were so surprised by that. I'm like, well, he's an artist. He's more known in one respect, like Donald Glover. Donald Glover does practically everything. He's just an artist. You can't really pinpoint him anywhere.
Shit, even Ice Cube to an extent.
Ice Cube, even Ice-T. God damn it, Ice-T.
Yeah, they've all pretty much set themselves up as the actor, rapper, producer.
Yeah, and that's fine, because, you know, you have the liberty to do so. You don't have to be just because, even if you don't think that's them. Like, I think there was a trailer that 21 Savage put out for some movie, which I don't know if he ever released it. People are like, 21's doing films. I'm like, well, it may not be the gangster one with the club. I don't know what it was.
Oh, I thought you were talking about that Mortal Kombat.
I don't know. No, not that. Which is still kind of cool that he branched over into games, but just you know, people are like, it may not be good, but don't be like, he shouldn't be doing that, because that's what we want to do. We want to have our hands in just a bunch of things, because we don't want to be complacent in one genre and be just known for that.
You can become very narrow.
Yeah.
Like, narrow-minded or narrow-sighted if you know that you have a passion for other things and you're only focusing on one because you don't know if you'll feel like you'll be able to achieve them. So
yeah, and that's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to be stagnant. That's when
within your artistry.
Yeah, because I feel like when you get stagnant in art, or like when an artist we know gets stagnant, I feel like that's when they, you know, a lot of them talk about like suicide, because you're like, you got fans and execs like, hey, release this now, and it's like, dude, I can't. He can't keep pushing the boundaries the whole time. They get stagnant, and then they.
We don't have a complete disdain for like your top 40 charts and your Billboard hitters and your oversaturated rap and pop tracks. It's just when it comes at such a high quality and you can't tell who's even an industry plant anymore, or if or even if the artist put in there what they felt like they wanted to create, not what the label needed them to create. So on this podcast, you'll probably hear us talking about a lot of independent artists and a lot of the lesser known artists more than your big up there guys, because they need a lot of respect too. They're working just as hard as the guys up there, and yeah.
Yeah. So just to like piggyback off that, like Harvin just said, AJ just said, we are born in this generation anyway.
Yeah.
So for us to be like nihilists, like art nihilists, be like, oh no, we hate Drake because he's major, we hate SZA because she's known, we hate Beyonce because she's known, is a little like insipid. Like
we're subdued to it at the end of the day.
Like it's, yeah, they just, you know, exactly, like we like some, like, what I like some of the Drake songs.
Yeah, I like it. What the fuck did they say?
What that nigga know about music? You know, like, but it is important to highlight some of the smaller artists, like people like Sales, people like
Terraza.
I think it's Tears. I don't even know. Toronto Raptors, Tears. Even people like Death Grips, who's kind of like, even though they're on the internet, they're nowhere near as big as like your big rappers. Like
Show Me the Body.
Show Me the Body.
Yeah.
Stuff like people like that, because they do work very hard on their stuff. They may not be with the big label, nor do they want to be, but they probably do want a little bit of exposure because they gotta live as well. So
yeah,
we don't hate the top 40. It's to be celebrated in some respects, but you gotta remember, we don't want to be close minded. Like,
if I feel like I've heard your shit before, or it's gonna get a little bit annoying, so I'm not gonna probably keep revisiting some of your work if
I can't tell maybe how many God's plans I've heard. You
exactly.
know, like.
And this even goes for people like Kid Cudi, some of the people who try to venture off into more of like a alternative sound, but sometimes they end up just making the same thing. J. Cole, fucking.
Or like, even there's some mainstream artists too that are like really good, like Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
Even though when he's doing that pop rap stuff right now, don't underestimate. He really could drop another Tip of a Butterfly or something. You never know. But yeah, just in that respect, also, you know, it's good to when you look at art and you're like, okay, we got this indie artist here. Mm-hmm. We have this big artist and they're similar, like draw different similarities. And even inspirations too, like you never know, like your favorite artist may be inspired by some smaller person.
Oh yeah.
Like Arca. I bet so many people we listen to today they all listen to Arca or something like that, you know. So yeah.
And a lot of your favorite artists, the people, they do their research on these underground people. That's where a lot of your sound comes from. That's where your new ushered in sound comes from, some of these artists to the bigger artists where, you know, looking down into some of the weeds and scrapes of people who don't really get all the attention. So.
Yeah, so just don't be closed-minded. All we can say.
Yep. Try to delve yourself into music headism as much as you can. And next week, in store for you guys, we have my personal top 10 albums, Donovan's top 10 albums, and then our collective top 20 albums of the year, our top 10 songs of the year, and then our top 5 movies.
Yeah, so it's going to be a real treat, kind of a holiday special, you know, before the new year, too, and, you know, because there's a lot of good albums this year. Arguably, probably the best year of the decade as far as music is concerned.
Yeah.
So we're really going to have a treat for you guys lined up. And also, as we upload this, share the video. Also give us feedback, too, because, you know, this is our first podcast. Of course, as time goes on, we're going to get progressively better. The video's going to look sharper and everything.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have a lashings meter for him.
I
fucked up.
Yeah, he's going to have a lashings meter, and we're going to beat the shit out of him.
For real.
But yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks you for just, you know, being here, watching us, supporting us, being in the room with us.
We'll have information like our Twitter handles and Instagram stuff and our YouTube all at the bottom.
At the bottom. Yep, all at the bottom.
And then we'll also have our Apple Music and Spotify. And as we get deeper into the podcast, we'll have our Drive-Thru Bandits Spotify and Apple Music. But for right now, we're just going to give you our solo information for weekly playlists to keep you updated with what we're listening to and the type of stuff that we like. So.
All right, yeah, and thank you. And this includes the first podcast.
Remember, it's just between us friends.
Yeah, don't tell no one, please. Just don't tell anybody.
Anybody.
It's just between us friends. All right, good night.
See you guys.